Boys, look who it is!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Unleash the Podcast. We are here for episode number 19. Just remember, guys, there is always cash in the banana stand. Yeah, so we have kind of a light week this week, so it might actually lead to one of those shorter shows that we've been talking about for so long now, but we will have to wait and see exactly how many tangents we go on and exactly how mad me and John can make each other throughout the course of the show. Always two very big components as far as episode length. How you doing this week, John?
I'm feeling boxed in. I feel like you cropped my face in a really weird way.
It's very possible.
It's fine. It's fine.
There you go. Just lean back. Lean back. It's all
just
better.
to quote the philosopher Fat Joe, lean back. Lean back. Shout out to 1998 or whenever he was relevant. Probably like 2001. I don't know.
I don't know. Is it not 2001 anymore? It always breaks my heart to do the math on what year it actually is and know exactly how old I am now.
Yeah. Well, you're at least older than I am, so. Although I just turned 25.
Oh, it's all downhill. Your last birthday was the last benefit. So this is the first one where nothing good happens this year, and nothing good will ever happen again as a result of your birthday.
No, in 10 years I can run for president, and in 40 years I'll get to reminisce about how if I were born 40 years previous, I would be getting Social Security now, but I'm not going to be anymore because that will long have passed.
Yeah, no, we'll never see that. That's definitely true. But yeah, 24, though, what I'm referring to is like you can rent a car cheaper.
At 25, yeah.
Is it 25? I thought it was 24. Well, they might have changed it.
If it is, then I've just wasted a year of value on all those rented cars I never applied for.
Well, what are you going to do? Stop taking your own car to Magic
it was only 24.
All right, well, nonetheless, guys, we will move on here, start to talk about some of the news from the week, and I don't know if it was actually this week. It was the week before, but we didn't...
Probably was.
Yeah, we didn't sneak it into last week's episode since we had a full docket of things to talk about, but we did have the Hearthstone Grand Prix that me and John were both pretty excited about and talked about on the show. That did run its course. That was at the Summer DreamHack. I'm not exactly sure where it was played. Somewhere in Europe, I know.
Somewhere that is not literally in Buffalo, so we didn't go.
Well, there was a little bit of an American contingent at the event, predominantly the pro players that are sponsored for travel and things like that.
The ones that got
were
there
able
for
to make the
free
trip.
and paid to go there. And...
Right. Yeah, I don't know that they got in for free since this one was the wide open, anybody can enter, first come, first serve to get in there. And as we take a look at how I think this is the top 8 matches played out, you can see there are definitely pro players that did very well. Amaz, Chalky, Tiddler, Celestial, Dog as well was in there, but these other guys, Unneed, aka Wonder, and Nico the Great were guys that were previous unknowns to me. So it'll be interesting to see if we can see them, parlay this performance into some form of invite down the road to other things. But that's really why we like this, John, was that it gives the everyman the opportunity to go on a hot streak and make a little bit of a name for himself and give him the opportunity to break out. So talk to me about what you thought of this tournament and if there's anybody that jumped out to you.
Yeah, I think the idea for it was really good. You and myself have gone to a number of Magic the Gathering Grand Prix, and they're probably the most fun events you'll play in. The trip there, next round I'm playing against a pro. All my friends are gonna bird my game. It might be on camera, whatever. That's really cool to be, basically go from, 0 to hero and crush LSV on camera. Although, side note, Alex Bianchi lost basically the finals of a PTQ against LSV in Vegas. If he would have beat LSV, he would have qualified for the Pro Tour with an X2 record at GP Vegas. But back to Hearthstone, he might be the last person that's played LSV in a PTQ, the finals of a PTQ, no less. But considering, yeah. But I think it's a really good idea. But the problem is that it was like a 128 person tournament. It was a first come first serve. So in my in a way, it wasn't really an open tournament. It was, I mean, it probably filled, I don't know the exact details of it, probably filled up really quickly. They probably gave preference to the pros because, like, what are the chances that Dog got to the site beforehand, or that he would have planned the trip if he wasn't already, like, guaranteed to get in? Like, what?
Well, it was like pre-registration. Right, so
right.
you were able to like sign up online and know 4 months in advance if you were going to be one of the contestants.
But like if they got a huge influx of them, and the tournament organizers like, ooh, should we let Chalky play, or these two schmucks that have a podcast, they signed up. Yeah, we're just going to throw them in the garbage. Like, why wouldn't they let the pros play? But so I think in terms of its execution, it was a little off. It didn't really, looking at the coverage and all the stuff that was said about it and everything, it didn't really feel like a Grand Prix to me, just because 128 people, that's like a nice F&M, not a Grand Prix.
Right.
I mean, the prize pool was nice, and there was a good number of pro players, but it didn't really feel like it didn't feel any different than the previous tournaments that weren't open, so to speak.
Right. Instead of it being, kind of what we hoped for, which we knew at the same time it wouldn't be because we knew the player cap, what that was going to be when it was announced. It turned out to be much more of a proof of concept. You can, in fact, set this up so that way you can have people come and do, Swiss rounds and a large number of people. The areas it fell short with me, I didn't hear anything about, and, want to be clear, I don't think it happened that there was any preference given to the pro players whatsoever.
No, I'm just guessing. I don't actually know if that's true or not. I didn't hear anything about it either.
Right. I think it was a matter of the pro players that knew they were going to travel to it or knew they were going to get paid to travel to it made a point to be on right as the event was going to be announced. Right. I'm sorry, as registration was going to come up, and I'm guessing they only had about 12 hours, if that, of open registration. It could have been just an hour, 2 hours before it filled up. And then kind of everything else came down to the location of it, right? Like, you had to be there. So whether you were from the U.S. or from the country it was in, you had to travel to it. So you had the pro players all that wanted to make the trip sign up, and then the local players kind of filled in the rest of the gaps, or maybe guys that were going to be there for other events decided, hey, let's see if I can get lucky at Hearthstone too.
True.
So, but it didn't really do a great job of highlighting the new players to me either. Like the first day of the stream was 3 rounds. Like you watched like 3 matches, and then it cut to day 2, and if you weren't 2-1, you were eliminated and didn't get invited to day 2. Oh. You gotta. I think it's gotta stretch out. Don't stream it all if you can't fit it in, but find a way.
Right.
Find a way to make this thing, kind of like Magic. I understand the rounds are going to take longer. You can't do 10 rounds in a day, but is there any reason that it wasn't, 3 and 2 and better advanced to day 2 and right. The number of players tell you how many rounds you're going to play, so I get it, but we need to see this occur on a larger scale, maybe a bring your own computer scale. Right. And really see if this is something that can be viable for Hearthstone with the logistics required. But I think if you tell people to bring their own equipment and they decide they want to compete in a tournament on a phone or on an iPad, that makes it a lot easier on space, and all you really need is Wi-Fi at that point.
Right. And as someone who has a nice iPad and for a while was forced to play on the iPad, I've played an IRL tournament on an iPad, and I was perfectly fine with it. Phone is probably pushing it a little bit just for physical logistics reasons, but I would be more than happy to play a competitive level tournament on my iPad.
Right. And it really comes down to like how many power bricks can these convention centers support, and how many? It's got to. I mean, you can install more.
I feel like there's not really a limit, right? Like
you have to do like runs. You can obviously only have so many, so many amps or whatever running through each line. Right. But you can put, a theoretically very large number of lines into a place that size. So it's just going to come down to like, there's going to be a couple places that'll have the ability to allow people to bring and plug in their own computers and in that such a large number. And maybe it'll be that the tournaments end up really focused on the, you know, the one European location and then the one North American location that'll pull it off until other places decide to, you know, install that ability or figure out a way to do it. But I would say venues almost got to be the biggest limiting factor here, even outside the logistics of running the event. That's just how many people do you hire.
Right. I mean, I know that, like, you know, back in the day, you know, StarCraft 1 and all those games that were like I don't even know what they would be but like those games where you had to have your tournaments as LAN tournaments. You know, they did it somehow. You know, like all the old Quake tournaments, all the old pro Quake players, they brought their own computers. They were huge ass, you know, CRT monitors, just dragging them around on pallet jacks and stuff. Like, you know, it's possible, and it's not like those venues have gone anywhere. I don't know. I feel like logistically they could do it. I guess maybe they just did this as a test to kind of see where they stood. I mean, I don't think that the Hearthstone tournament was the biggest appeal for this event.
No, I don't think so either.
So, you know, maybe it was just an oversight. But I think if you had, you know, something like maybe like an open tournament at BlizzCon or something, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there. You could.
A great place to do it too.
Right, you have the first American Grand Prix where it's completely open, and, you know, maybe that. I mean, BlizzCon is already hard enough to get into just from, like, getting a ticket perspective. Maybe they just have a different set of tickets. I don't know. Maybe BlizzCon's not the best place. But, you know, all these events, you know, PAX East, TwitchCon, all these things that Hearthstone is a part of, they could just have Grand Prix there, right? Like, a lot of it's going to overlap. I don't think that it's going to be exactly like a Magic tournament where it's going to engulf the whole thing.
Right.
But I don't know. You know, maybe this is just a test, and they're planning to expand it. I don't know. I hope so.
You know, a lot of the problem too becomes a matter of, you know, do you have to be sitting across from your opponent in order to play? Because if you do, then I think like the biggest thing you could allow, and this is fine for Hearthstone, the biggest thing you can allow is a laptop, right? Because that laptop then has to be able to move to the other table or, you know, from table to table with you. That's not really feasible with a desktop PC.
Right.
So even in this, I don't know, it's complicated.
Like sure. If you bring your own computer, you just have them set up in a way that it's not going to be possible, or like you just have them, I don't know, in like a circle or something, and like if the two people sitting next to each other are playing, you just have a tournament official stand by them so that nothing's, you know, shady's going on. Like at GameCore we played, and we were pretty much all just in one big group. You know, people were sitting next to each other or whatever. I mean, and we just all had the common courtesy to not like stand behind the person that we're playing and look at their hand, you know, like, and if that were to happen, you know, someone would have said something, or it would have been pretty easy to point out.
Yeah, you guys were all in a line, and I don't know if it ever came up that it was...
Well, like, there were some in a line, and then a couple of us were at a table that if, like, depending on who I played, I could have seen someone else's computer if I were, like, actively looking.
Right.
But, you know, it was not an issue. I think that's got to be on, like, the back of their mind.
Right.
That doesn't really, that's not a forefront issue. Like, you know, figure that part out later. Just have, if for whatever reason two people sitting next to each other playing, just have someone go over there.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely bigger fish to fry. But the reason we're talking about this so much is because we want to kind of set this up to have a conversation about what direction do we think we can expect Hearthstone tournaments to go in. You know, there's three main kind of categories they fall into, and if you count the Grand Prix as one of them, the other two would be the invite only. You know, kind of what is currently the mainstream. And that's where it's exactly what it sounds like. You know, you pick the 16 pro players that you want to say you have coming to your stream if you're the sponsor,
right.
and you know, you pit them against each other in whatever format you decide. It's been a decent model and an entertaining model to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, the other way this can kind of go is just away from tournaments and into a very casual player's game. You know, you see the joking nature of the commercial ads they're putting out, things like that. John, what way do you envision the game going, and then what way are you seeing it go right now? Like, what way do you think it's headed, and what way do you want it to go?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where Blizzard specifically stands on it, but it seems like the community has been pushing towards the pro player only circuit, the esports circuit, where, like you said, you've got Trump versus Chalky, and then Dog is playing against Reynad or whatever. Like, and then you have those players, and it really is just the name recognition at that point, right? Like, you're really just mining your views from having pro players there, and it kind of creates a disconnect between the casual player and the professionals, and it kind of creates a disconnect in the game. And this can be successful for things like baseball. Like, obviously, like, I can't play and go start in the major leagues. That's never going to happen. But I'm also not given the illusion that I can. It's very distinct what I can and can't do. Here, it's like, oh well, maybe if I play enough events and I grind enough BlizzCon points, then I can spike this tournament, and then I can play in these invitational tournaments. When really, that's really just not going to happen. I mean, maybe it will. It's not going to happen for me, but it just seems like we haven't really picked a stance yet. We're not at the, okay, there's the professional, like the PHL, Professional Hearthstone League, that's governed by Blizzard and has all these rules and stuff, and there's different teams and whatever. It's really just a hodgepodge, and everyone thinks they have a chance, but really it's just the pros that have a chance. And I guess the community kind of chooses where this goes, right? Like, if we keep supporting the top tier players playing against each other, like, that's what they're going to keep doing, because every time they have two schmucks play, they get 10 views. Like, why would they keep doing that? But I don't know. I have mixed feelings, because on the one hand, they want to do this because they're going to get views. On the other hand, it's like, well, why do I grind Legend every month? Like, what's the point? I don't know. I guess my view is kind of depressing in terms of tournaments. But Blizzard, on the other hand, doesn't. I feel like Blizzard doesn't make that much money, or maybe even any money at all, off of these, like, the Amaz tournaments. Like, what does Blizzard get out of it other than they're promoting their game? They are promoting the mobile and casual thing. The Tavern Brawl, the mobile launch, the commercials. That's all going towards this casual crowd, which in the end really makes the money, right? Like, they're the casual players are the ones that buy packs, and we're not. Although we do from time to time. But
are you sure I don't spend way too much on packs?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Okay, but maybe at that point we're the casual players. Then I don't know how much money has Crip spent on Hearthstone? Over or under $1,000? From non-donated money.
Non-donated? Well, then he spent probably nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a full-time streamer. That's where, like, his income comes from. So, like, you know what I mean? He probably doesn't.
Right. It's more
really
like a business investment to buy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and that's a large part of what I've spent mine on is, hey, I've got a lot of people in the stream right now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. Let's open 15 packs.
Right. And then you open Hotter Than the Sun, and you open a Golden Leroy, and you're the literal worst.
You're
the literal worst, and I hate you.
Oh my god, it was unbelievable. It was literally 15 packs. I opened like 4 legendaries. One of them was golden. 2 of them were in the same pack. Like, it was like Golden Leroy and another one in the pack. And I had like 7 or 8 golden cards that day. Like, it was pretty awesome. I can't even lie to you.
You're just the worst.
And I'm totally fine with that. No qualms with it whatsoever.
No qualms with being the worst.
No, it
So
was phenomenal.
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of taken a step back from Hearthstone a little bit these last couple of weeks, so I'm kind of seeing things more in perspective, and it just kind of seems like everything's the same, you know? Like, it's like, oh, DreamHack Summer is happening. Oh, who's playing? The same 10 people you've seen in literally every other tournament. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to go watch this tournament. Who's going to be playing? It's Kibler versus Trump in round 1. It's like, but wasn't that the same? Wait a second. You just copied and pasted the same turn. This is the same coverage.
Right.
You just photoshopped different art in the background.
So yeah, to kind of expand on that, I totally agree with everything you're saying for the most part. Like, you know, what they're doing now is they're placating the sponsors. They're not doing what is kind of the best for the growth and health of the game overall. And right. Like you said, that's got to come from Blizzard. So do they want to turn this into something where, you know, they pick up new players, they get people interested, and then they want the competitive crowd to be around? I think they almost need it for the long-term health of the game, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think they'll ignore it completely. And really right now the way to kind of break in and make a name for yourself is by just queuing up those BlizzCon points and you know, grinding in top 50 legend two times in the same qualifying season, or whatever you've got to do to kind of make your way into BlizzCon and get in there. So that's really like the entry point, and that's like the World Championships. That's so daunting that the only thing you can do is grind your way into being the world champion if you want to make a name for yourself in this game. So it'll be interesting to see if Blizzard does go out of their way to encourage the tournament crowd, maybe the open tournaments. That's the way I want to see it go, because I want there to be a legitimate backing to any tournaments I do, so that way I can trust the rules are being enforced.
Right.
Everything can be apparent, and you know, take away as much room for human error and skullduggery as humanly possible. And those are the kind of events that I want to.
The word skullduggery.
Yeah, well, you know,
I will allow you to take $1. I will match $1 from your tip jar for using such a great usage of skullduggery.
All right, so you're gonna add $1 to the tip jar because I said skullduggery. I like it.
I'll replace your $.
Oh, okay. I'll leave my money in there. I've earned every $1 I've put in that jar.
That is true.
Even the
and just to be clear, you have to get top 50 twice in the same period to be able to play in the PTQ for BlizzCon.
Right, like the qualifier and things like that. And that's fine with me. Like, honestly, as somebody that hit Legendary last season and was able to kind of set himself up for a run, there's ways to be a more consistently good player and to really grind into that top 50. It's crazy in the last day, and you're going to move a lot no matter what you do. You have to be active.
Right.
But, you know, I didn't move as much as I thought I did. As somebody that was hanging out in, like, the 150s for almost that entire day, I really expected myself to be like, oh, look, I'm 300 because all these people are grinding games. And that wasn't what I was experiencing. You know, it was fairly tame from what I was looking for.
Right.
And I think, you know, as I continue to get better at the game, I'm kind of like hitting Legendary on accident this month. I'm not playing a whole ton. I haven't added a huge time commitment with my vacation to the ladder. And it was just like on Friday, I played for a little while and went from, you know, 7 to 4. And okay, cool.
Right.
I went on a good run and got there. And all month it's been slow, steady movement up. There hasn't been a whole lot of down to it. So, you know, if I were to also combine that with trying real hard and playing real hard, maybe it's just the metagame agrees with me right now. But since I hit rank 5, I've been playing Control Warrior. I think I've lost 3 times since rank 5.
Wow.
So it's been pretty
impressive. Yeah. I guess maybe I don't want this to spawn a whole nother tangent, but do you think that you're playing less now? Like, you have a bunch of time off. Maybe if this were 2 or 3 months ago, you would have been like, oh, I'm grinding this out. I'm getting Legend on my vacation. I'm going to get top 50. I'm going to get top 100. I'm going to say, screw you, Lucids. I'm going to be the number 1 on my friends list. Do you think that you're not doing that because there's not really that much reason to get Legend after you get it once?
No, because it wasn't like I really pushed for it last month and tried real hard because I'd kind of been casually playing for a little while,
Right?
and
But
I
like
needed to
the only
relearn
reason
the
that
metagame.
yeah,
But right now I'm
the,
not committing a ton of time to it because I haven't needed to. Like I've been making
exactly
my climb, and I
right.
feel like I'm going to hit Legend with a few days to go in the month anyways. So I don't want to burn myself out when I can just
Right.
play real hard the last couple days of the month if I want to, and if it starts off successful, great, and if it doesn't, I'll just stop.
Right.
So it's
But
just kind of
my
been
whole
working
thing is after you hit Legend the first time, if you're not getting top 100 Legend, or you're not planning on getting top 100 Legend, there's no real reason to get Legend again other than for personal goals.
Right.
And I feel like there's something wrong with that. Just from incentivizing you to play at a top level perspective. From Blizzard specifically. I mean, obviously, well, even playing on ladder is not even really the best testing for tournaments. I would say that playing on ladder, if you get too focused in on ladder, you're not actually going to do that great in tournaments.
Yeah, the people I know that use ladder as a testing tool, they're like conceding matchups that aren't things they don't have good stats on. So like once they've played 25 times against Hunter and they feel like they know how the matchup goes, the next time they get paired against Hunter, they're just auto conceding. You know, whether these are people that are already Legend, so they're just content to stay at the back end of Legend and do what they need to do.
The dumpster.
Right. You know, or they're people that just go, I don't care about my ranking. But even if you're not already at Legend, like I feel like that's a viable option after you hit the Legend barrier because you can be confident in a comparable level of play to somebody that might be there. But, or at least more confident than if you're ranked 17, right?
Right.
So,
no, I know you.
Yeah, you know,
like
I hear what you're saying, and I think I would be more active on a month-to-month basis if there was an extra incentive to do it. But I know the first time I hit Legend, I didn't do it again for a while, and that was in large part because I sucked, and in comparison to how good I am now, and my estimation. And so it took me so many more games, and I was so much more exhausted. And lately I've been able to kind of more casually play my way into a
and there's really there's no pressure, right? Like you've already proven that you've got the card back, so you don't need to do it. Those 3 seasons where like I failed twice and then eventually got it. I was just so stressed in life for those 3 months. Just like in the back of my mind, I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't get Legend. Oh, I'm the worst. Like I love Hearthstone. I don't even have the stupid card backs. It's all I want." And like, especially like the week after, I was just like, I just felt like garbage. It was terrible.
It definitely is bad. Like when you try and make like, there's been a couple months where I'm like, no, I'm getting Legend this month, and I set aside the time and tried real hard, and then just like didn't get there, and I was like just inconsolable about it. I'm like, I don't want to live in a world where I have to play Hunter in order to make Legendary. So do I just stop playing? Like, and you know, I'm like, I was having that conversation with myself, and you know, whether that was actually the reason why I wasn't getting there or not, you know. It's when you're frustrated and mad. It's, you know, Hunter is a good thing to make fun of and pick on.
Looking back, if I had advice for myself to get Legend, I would say don't care if you get Legend. But I also know that past John would be like, you're an idiot. If I don't care, I'm not going to play. Go back to the future, you moron. So I don't know. I like that's the advice I have. But I also know that I would never take my own advice. So I guess it's a wash. Yeah, I didn't want that to go on into a tangent, but it kind of did. But oh well, that's fine.
Tangents are fine too. Like we said, it's a light week, so we're embracing the tangents some. Yeah, you know, like you said, I really kind of like the idea of, you know, a arena setup for Constructed. I think that would be a cool way to, you know, reward you for repetitive and quality play. I don't know that they're worried about infusing free packs into the competitive players' pools, so maybe there's a different way to prize it out, some packs, but also, you get some gold as well, so that way you can re-enter the events, or maybe gold doesn't enter you into these 8-man queues, or these arena queues. Maybe it's only $2, or I reached 7 or 10 wins, or whatever the number is, that gives you a free entry chip into the next one.
That would be interesting, where your initial buy-in has to be $2, and then if you hit a certain threshold, you free roll it, and then you get, I don't know, maybe dust or something.
Or gold, or
it's all the same stuff, right? Right, it's all the same stuff, right? Like packs and dust are the same thing. It's just a pack can be worth more. It's like gambling almost, but. Right. I don't know, and they always want there to be that little bit of gamble in it because people are just naturally addicted to it. But I don't know. I think they could do it. I doubt that they really care to, especially since they spent all this time with the Tavern Brawl. Are we talking about Tavern Brawl today, Jim? On the show?
We can talk about it a little bit. We're definitely going to be doing it in the after show.
Well, yeah, that for sure.
But we kind of have, and let's kind of move this conversation into what the next one was,
sure.
Since they are kind of related, and we're just deviating off of it.
We're deviating completely,
right? So, we were talking about these tournaments and what direction we think they're going to go, and a lot of these esports that have been out there, and you've noticed all these pro players, they have these teams, right? And here's the best examples I could think of in 2 minutes flat that cover Hearthstone. So if I omitted a big one, I'm sorry, but Team Solo Mid formerly had Masan, and they're less of a Hearthstone presence, but they are a little bit. Tempo Storm is like half Hearthstone. They have like Hearthstone and Heroes and CSGO, and Team Liquid and Team Archon is Amaz's team. I don't know that they do anything other than Hearthstone right now.
Archon is exclusively Hearthstone by like business model. Like that's publicly stated that they are only doing Hearthstone.
That's kind of nice. I like that.
And like Team Liquid, Team Liquid, Cloud9, and Solo Mid started as other. I think Liquid probably started as StarCraft. Solo Mid, I'm pretty sure, started as League of Legends.
Yeah. Solo Mid is
it was
choice.
Not Reynad. Reginald, that was that guy's name that started Solo Mid, I think.
Reg.
It's like, hey guys, this is Reginald. I used to watch his videos back in the day, like back when he first started it.
Reginald Fairfield.
He was awful. He was just an awful, like, person. Not really. It was actually pretty funny because he was like kind of a dick, but he would just go into these random pub matches with some friends and just destroy people with the Smurf account. It was pretty funny to watch, but like at the same time, it's like this is funny once, but like you keep doing it, it's not funny anymore. And Cloud9 is I don't know, but from other places.
I used to have a Captain Teemo exclusive account in League of Legends. It was called Captain Creepo. And I would only play Teemo on it, and I actually really liked that guy, but he was bad, and I didn't want playing him to ruin my stats, because this was like before ranked, where I couldn't even have played in casual. I could just like play in the only mode that's there, and it messes.
That was back when I played. I played up until they released Rank Season 1, and then I played for a little bit after that and quit.
Well, and the reason why we're talking about these and mentioning League of Legends at all
is because we're becoming a League of Legends podcast, guys. It's here. It's John and Jim talking about...
we did talk about audibling into a Game of Thrones podcast.
And now we're going to spoil everything. No, we're kidding. We're kidding. I'm not going to spoil that. Oh, no, I almost did it. No, I didn't.
But yeah, we're talking about these teams because it makes sense, and it inherently works with a game like League of Legends, right? There's 5 guys on your team. It's 5v5. Oh, look, for the watch.
I was wondering if you're going to get that.
Oh, I got it, yeah. I was making that joke last week before you understood it.
If Peach got
So essentially, there's these 5-man teams, and it makes sense that everybody's organized into teams. But when you get into Hearthstone, John said it best in our notes, are people just going to root for Kalento or root for Strifeco or Reynad or whoever they like, regardless of what team they're on? Or are they going to be like, I want Tempo Storm to win so bad, I don't care who?
Right. What team does Life Coach play for? Exactly.
Liquid.
Nope.
Cloud9.
Nope. I'll give you a hint. It's not on the screen.
If it's not on the screen, I don't know it exists.
It's Nihilium. Or Nihilium. Nihilium, I think. Him and what's the guy that crushed the Crybaby at that tournament? I can't think of his name. Lothar are on Team Nihilium. And sorry to all the Nihilium fans, but no one cares what Hearthstone team you're on besides the people that own the team.
Right.
Like no one, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're just old timers and we're out of the loop. But like no one cares what Hearthstone team you play for. Like we care that so in League of Legends, if a good player is going to be able to use their team name and team clout to promote themselves. Like, oh, I got signed to Team Cloud9. He got signed to Team Cloud9. He must be a good player. It's like, oh, Cloud9 just got Strifecrow. That team's cool. Like, It has nothing to do with anything about the team. It's just that they have the players.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of this particular streamer, the example is like if the name means nothing, nobody cares. We didn't announce who Tempo Storm signed recently, right? They're probably out there doing the work, finding the literal best players they can, but they signed an Asian girl to their team, and apart from hearing some odd Magic Amy jokes on random occasion after it happened, I still don't know who she is. I've never seen her stream. I haven't seen her show up to an event. And I don't know that, getting signed to a team is really the way. It's the way to make yourself the best player possible, by all means.
It might be. Okay, Archon, they're like a cohesive house, and I see them, testing with each other and, playing all the time. So I imagine that the players in Archon House probably get a lot of work in terms of Hearthstone testing and Hearthstone stuff done. And I feel like Amaz is probably a good enough manager, and they have smart enough people there to actually get real testing done. I doubt that that's being done with any of these other teams. Most of the teams have people scattered across literally the globe. Have these people ever even met each other?
We have the Tempo Storm house too, so it's safe to assume they're doing it.
I'm
maybe if they're not a house,
I'm still not sure if that's true or not.
That's a big maybe, but theoretically, they have a house. But at the end of the day, it's not a disadvantage, right? And at the bare minimum, there's this Facebook group that's super exclusive and has 5 people in it.
Right.
Where the primo information is being passed. That I think is the bare minimum you can expect. So having a team and doing some some information
forum,
sharing
basically.
And testing for people that are doing regular tournaments. I encourage you find this, and if you don't have one and don't know of one around that you want to be in, make one.
Or join Hearthstone.
Yes, we do have a fairly good Facebook group. You'll get the occasional comment on something if it's thoughtful from Kibler, if it's your stupid deck list that's mill something or Fatir, just clearly not a competitive thing.
Those aren't even the worst posts in those. We're going on the tangent.
Go there, John.
If you have a new deck, if you have an interesting deck, you have a deck, post it. People ask legitimate questions and they expect legitimate answers, and you know what? I think they deserve them, honestly, especially for newer players. When you post 20 pictures a day about every individual pack you opened and everything you got, delete your account, delete Hearthstone, and just don't play anymore, please. because no one. I'm trying my best not to donate right now. Do not. No one cares about your stupid packs.
I'll keep it ready.
No, that's not going to happen. Don't. This is okay. And for those super fans who used to watch and listen to the Slam Dunklers podcast, now I'll say in hiatus Magic the Gathering podcast, I went on some rants about the Magic the Gathering Reddit page and how awful it was and how it just devolved into people posting stupid pictures of cupcakes that their Magic-themed cupcakes that their girlfriends made them. That's what these Hearthstone groups are turning into. It's like, hey, look at this pack. I got a golden rare in it, guys. Should I disenchant it? It's like, oh my god, can you not answer these questions? And then it's like the same person over and over and over again. Like they open 100 packs and they post a picture of every single one from their phone. Like, hey, I just got this legendary. Should I keep it or disenchant it? It's like, well, didn't you get this answer from the first pack you posted? It's like, well, this is a different legendary, guys. I don't know if I should keep Galawix or not. It's like, do you have Dr. Boom? If you do, then keep your card. If you don't, disenchant it and make a Dr. Boom. That's the end of the conversation. Like, you really, really don't need to keep posting your picture of your stupid packs. And like,
don't hate on the fact that I once carved Magic mana symbols into pumpkins and posted a picture on a group. Okay, that was impressive. And
that is
it
impressive.
was well done. So
the
don't
8,000th like batch of black mana symbol cupcakes that some idiot posts does not need to make it on the internet. Okay, we get that the internet is like the free trade of information and that everything could possibly go there. Not everything needs to be there. And I'm trying my best not to say really horrible things in the name of bashing these Hearthstone people, but they deserve it.
We had one today, both me and John, like, kind of poked fun of.
This is different. I was being very tame on that because 2 years ago, John would have just ripped this guy a new one.
I came into it like doing my Blevins impression, and, and it was really funny because the guy's like mad about people net.
We talked about this on the show.
Yeah.
We talked to us in one of the earlier episodes. Like, people are like, well, you know, I played Magic in 1993, and we didn't have the internet, and we had to make our own decks, and we had decks, and we played against each other, and we made them. Those decks were crafted from blood, sweat, and tears, and I loved that deck, and when I had to put it down, it was the worst day of my life. It's like, yes, and you also went to FNM and got crushed because you're playing with a suboptimal deck, idiot. Like, you don't need 33 lands in your deck in the 68 card deck. Like, these people, they're like, oh, well, you just copied your deck from the internet, or you didn't learn anything. It's like, no, I learned how to play the deck well, and then I won the tournament. You 0-2 dropped and went to Tully's. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, oh my god. Like, it's like, okay, I can understand, like, I can almost understand people are like, oh, you guys have no creativity, you don't build decks. It's like, deck building is not the only thing that goes into playing a card game. In fact, it doesn't even need to be one of the things. Honestly, I don't really like building decks. You know, should I not play the game anymore? No. I should play. Okay, I phrased that wrong. Yes, I should play the game. Just because I don't like building decks doesn't mean I can't play the game. And just because you like building bad decks doesn't mean that you shouldn't play the game. Play your bad decks and lose, please. I hope you get paired against me.
Right.
Like, there's okay. Some people might deck. Some people do net deck, quote unquote, maliciously, and they don't learn anything. Those people don't win tournaments generally because the card designers are usually good enough at leaving enough room for the better skilled player to outplay the person in the mirror match or with a slightly suboptimal deck. That is gaming in a nutshell. Like, get better and
win more.
Beat the person that net decked, okay? Like, this is like a going on 20-year-old argument, and the people who are against net decking have literally never once been right. And it just...
They've really never even once convinced me to, like, not... And I'm somebody that, like, it should be easy for them to convince me, but it's just too common sense to do it. Like, I love building my own decks. I will go to FNMs at Magic with the hope that this deck is finally, like, did I finally make something bad enough that I do O2 drop in this room? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
Right.
it's different. Like, I don't go to a GP going like, I need to make my own deck. I've taken homebrews to GPs because I thought I had them in good position, you know, to maybe try to make a day 2 run, and then you get on camera, and that's one of the ways you can accidentally do something for yourself in Magic, is to go on a run with a unique deck, and you don't all of a sudden you don't have to win it, right? You just have an interesting deck, so they put you on camera early on,
yeah.
and then
Yep.
people are in chat and on Twitter asking to see you play your deck again, so now you're on camera 2 or 3 times over the course of a long event, and people know who you are, so, you know, your Twitter account gets some attention, you start writing for a blog, you know, you start streaming Moto a little bit, and then you can build a little bit
And then you stop because the program is terrible, but well, that's an aside.
Moto is Moto.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, so basically what this person wants you to do is go through all the grinding and testing and optimization that the pros have already done for us, because they play professionally and they do it all the time, and do that yourself so that you learn that this is the best deck. It's like, that's a waste of time. Not all of us have the time to do this, and I don't know who this guy is. I've never even seen his name, but like, there's no difference, man. Like, we understand that maybe you gain more if you make your own deck, but I don't even think that's true. It's like, okay, if the best decks are already made, like, can you not play those decks anymore? Like, it's like, oh, Purple drank. He called shotgun on Miracle Rogue, so we can't play Miracle Rogue anymore. Or, like, we can't play 2 deckhands in our Miracle Rogue because he's playing them. We can only play 1 because we came up with 1. It's like, what is your end goal here? Really, it boils down to him playing a terrible deck and being mad that he loses to the same decks, because those decks are optimized to win. There's a reason they win. Okay, I'm jumping off. I'm gonna cool down. I'm done.
Well, if we want any chance at actually making this a short show today, we should kind of try to press on a little bit here, so we can end the discussion here.
Back to the original discussion. Teams don't really make sense for Hearthstone, and I agree with you when you said there's really no reason not to have a team from a player perspective, but I wonder if it's the most optimal way to showcase the game as a whole. And, you know, it really just seems like Hearthstone is like, oh, StarCraft and, you know, Dota and League of Legends and CSGO use teams, so we're just going to kind of take this, we're going to net deck this method and just do that with Hearthstone, where I don't necessarily think that the game is conducive to doing that. So I don't have a good answer to what should happen, and I'm also not 100% convinced that teams are the worst thing. But I think that maybe people should consider some new type of thing. I don't know. That was
to wrap this conversation up on my end. I think teams are necessary. There needs to be individuals that are willing to sponsor and pay for the travel of these pro players. You know, as somebody that would love to be a pro, whatever player, I don't even care. Just pick the video game, make me good enough at it to be a pro, and I'll do it.
True.
You know, they're necessary because somebody's got to be willing to front the money to go and do those things. So don't discourage them is my best advice, but, you know, don't exclusively tie yourself to them. You know, in Magic, there's really like, what, 2 teams? There's Team Channel Fireball and Team...
and those aren't really
Star
even...
City.
Star City, I don't even know if... I've been so out of it lately. They're not even like real teams, I don't think. They're literally just testing groups that choose to give themselves a team name so that the commentators have something to talk about.
Right. Yeah. They're
the Star City
less
guys.
of a team than these are, for sure.
I mean, they might be less of a team, but they probably do more testing.
Yeah.
For the tournaments, but they're not like there might be some players that are sponsored like with Star City and maybe Channel Fireball, but I don't. It's not
Well,
like Archon with the
Magic is
house.
so well planned as far as that goes, and we really will move on after this point.
Yes.
Because the Pro Tours are, 2 weeks after the set releases. So there aren't tournament results out there, you know what I mean? There's like week 1 of some scrubs going to, Star City events, and then the pros all didn't go because they're in, they rented out a house and they're all play testing day and night. And then they unleash their actual new innovative things that turn out to shape the format. So Magic is so
really
structured. Yeah, it's awesome.
That like the Pro Tour weekend, like I will always watch Pro Tour weekend, even if I don't follow Magic at all, just because they come out with some crazy stuff, and also it's a good way to make money if you speculate on Magic cards. But I made a lot of money on Goblin Rebel Master. I bought $2.50 Goblin Rebel Masters and paid for a trip to Orlando. But
I did the same thing with Tarmogoyf, except it was Daytona Beach.
Yeah, that's but yeah.
All right, yeah, we're moving on. I told you so. We're spotlighting a deck today. It's Aggro Paladin, a deck that's been around in the past. Sees a little bit of different cards in it now, as some new cards have come out since the last time. It's been really good. It's something I've personally played against fairly often. Now when I see Paladin on the ladder, I'm thinking it's probably this, not mid-range. I don't know why. I haven't lost to it yet, but that's another story. I'm playing Control Warrior, which is like my deck that agrees with me and has Baron Geddon, so they lose. But essentially the point of this deck is to flood the board with tiny, tiny creatures. Just chip away with early damage and kind of finish things off with minions. There's been a lot of other variants of this. I think this is not the greatest encapsulation of what I've seen. I've never seen an Argent Commander, for example. I've seen lists I don't think would actually play Tyrion because they're so aggressive and so fast. Piloted Shredder and Loatheb, I think, would absolutely be the top end of the curve for most of these decks. But this does a good job at giving you the idea of what's going on. Dump your hand full of, with all these little low-cost guys, and then use Divine Favor or Jeeves or something like that to refill your hand and keep the pressure going. John, have you seen this much?
I haven't seen this one specifically. I played the Hobgoblin, like, more all-in version before, and it's, like, really swingy. It's pretty good, depending on the meta. This seems like a much more well-rounded deck. And for reference, there's no Jeeves in this list.
Correct. It runs Solemn Vigil instead. And
I feel like
only one, too. This is very light on card draw.
Yeah, the 1-in-1 split of Divine Favor and Solemn Vigil seems weird. I feel like with the Tyrion and Argent Command, all the high drops, I feel like you just want Solemn Vigil and not Divine Favor. I feel like you want to build your deck in a way where you want either 2 Solemn Vigils or you want 2 Divine Favors and not this, like, halfway split, I guess. But besides that, the deck looks, pretty standard, aggressive, Paladin deck. This definitely seems more consistent than the versions of the deck that run literal Wisp.
Yeah, I think this is definitely kind of a different subset of deck than the Hobgoblin version, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But they are, similar in the fact that they refill their hands in similar ways. They pressure the board with a lot of similar minions. This deck has another, like, Coghammer to me seems a little lost here. I would rather, and I've seen more of the 1/5 that gives a 1/1 to each creature and loses a durability as they come into play. I can't remember the name of that card, but
Sword of Justice.
Yes. So there's a lot of different ways to play this. Try this list out. Go over to Hearthbone, find some of the more aggressive versions, or hit up myself or John on Twitter, or email us if you want to try to find a different version of it that might be more aggressive. I'm surprised it's been doing so well with Patron and Control Warrior being so strong, but I can see every other matchup, I can see how they're very winnable. And Control Warrior, probably I've been running really hot with that deck, and like I said, it's my deck. If there's anything I play well, it's that. And so I don't know if I've been outplaying them a little bit or what, but that matchup shouldn't even be terrible for you. Like, it should definitely be winnable if you get some good card draw from it. So
yeah, I agree.
Words. All right, so
words that came out of the mouth.
To wrap up the show, I do have at least one question already here from chat. We will ask that while we get ready to do Stump the Blevins. So, do you think it boosts a player's win rate when they are part of a team? Would you rather be part of an established team or start your own? Grid, I would much rather be a part of an established team because I think from the player perspective, they help boost and market you. So I'd rather be, join one that already exists than start one. But I think any amount of, that's not where the actual making you a better player comes in, and that's not what's going to impact your win rate. The sheer presence of a team for impacting your win rate, I don't think it matters if you start it or if you join one.
Right.
I just think having that group of players that shares information and tests matchups, if I had other people that would go out there and, John was really curious about the Face Hunter versus Patron matchup and wanted concrete numbers. So John and PJ decide to play 50 games of that matchup, and they change sides and really analyze everything and post the numbers. I don't have to do that now. I trust these two. They're on my team. I know that they have good results. I know their strengths and their weaknesses. Even if I don't get the same thing from their testing that they did, if I pull different information from of it, like let's say I just think John's not that good at Face Hunter and he doesn't know how to play it. I chose the one where it was obviously not true since you're better at that deck than I am, so that way it was obvious that I wasn't saying anything real. But let's say I just don't think John can play Face Hunter very well, so I take the fact that he went 50-50 when he was piloting that against PJ, I take that to mean that Face Hunter's probably, 65% in the matchup. I still didn't have to play those games. I just get to look at their results and infer things from them. So it definitely increases your overall win rate because knowledge of the metagame is one of the most important things you can have.
For
I don't
sure.
know if you have anything to add to that question, but
yeah, pretty much just a solid agree. Just having people that will challenge what you believe to be complete fact about matchups or about Hearthstone in general is going to improve your game dramatically. And I would say every person up to it, a certain number is going to improve that. If you have once you get more than 5 people working on something, it starts to get a little convoluted, and then it breaks down into 2 separate groups. But even that, if you have 2 separate groups working on something and you come to different conclusions, then you can talk about why you came to those conclusions and perhaps gain an even greater knowledge of the game overall. We a bunch of my friends did this in Magic we used to do this with every new draft format that came out, and we put when Theros came out, we put 2 people from our test group into the top 8 of the largest PTQ ever at the time in Toronto. Actually, both of them made the finals of that PTQ. But yeah, just having a team, whether you start it or if it's an established team, is going to help you as long as that team is actually doing the right things to test.
Toxic teams are toxic, and they're going to hurt you, just as much as a good team will help you.
Right.
So,
and
know the people that are in it, learn as much as you can about them, and just be respectful to them. Don't shoot down their ideas. They got into the same team you did. If it comes out of their mouth, it's not stupid. It's worthy of consideration. Even if it turns out to be stupid, it doesn't mean the idea was. It didn't work out.
Just means that the person that said it was. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it would be really interesting to interview someone who's on a quote-unquote real Hearthstone team just to get some perspective of how serious it is, and maybe not specifically what kind of money numbers they make, but how are they able to do this professionally, and do they have another job, or do they just do this? Where does their income come from? Because I've actually been super curious about that for Archon House. What is their situation? There's, I don't know, maybe like 10 people that live there, like give or take. Like, what kind of money are they, like, what do they have, like a 10-year plan? Do they plan on being in Archon House in 10 years? Do they get healthcare benefits? I doubt it. But, like, do they make money from streaming? Like, do they have to stream a certain amount of hours? You know, do they pay for housing? Does Amaz pay for that? Like, I'm really curious about that, and if we could ever get an interview with any one of them. I wonder who
told you to sign your boy Orange up for an appearance on the show.
I got to talk to you about that and after the show, because it's kind of funny, because I remembered something that's pretty funny. I'm afraid. No, it's not really that interesting. It's just disappointing.
Well, we do have another question here, and John, I can let you answer that one first. Do you think they will ever develop something like guilds within the game?
I ain't no nerd, so I don't know what guilds are. No,
like a clan.
No, I know what they are. Okay. Maybe. I don't really have a good answer for that, because I really don't know, like, what. Like, in World of Warcraft, guilds make sense because you're doing team things, right? Like,
right.
You're raiding, you're doing dungeons and stuff, where it makes sense that, and you can, like, share gold and stuff in the guild, right? And share things. I guess maybe they could make guilds where, like, you have, like, a community, like, card pool, but I feel like that just loses them money, and there's really no benefit other than that people might clap and then instantly complain about it. So I'm going to say no, probably not.
Yeah, my answer would be no, too. And the largest reason, and the one that makes me, like, not explore the other reasons why they might not, is the fact that there's no room for it in the interface. There's no place for guild chat to exist. You know, there's no place for the guilds button to open up, you know, the browsing window to find a new one, or
whoa, there's a secret button. There's that secret hidden button under my collection.
There definitely is that secret hidden button. If you watched the After Hours show last week, you will already know all about it. So, you know, that seems pretty complicated and difficult to get to. So hopefully that's never where anything is actually stored. But yeah, I would say I wouldn't think so. Yeah, you're going to have to do those kinds of things on your own independently. And the greatest tool for that I've seen is Facebook groups, to be honest.
Right.
You know, a really exclusive one. Mine that we've talked about a couple times is, you know, 100 and something people. But there's no reason you can't have your own team group and it only have 5 people in it that you know are going to check it and use it. So yeah, look to use those other tools to kind of help do the things the game doesn't have implemented yet, because there are benefits to it.
Yeah, and I think we pretty much explained that. It's time. I'm ready.
You're going down. It's time to stump the Blevins. If you don't know what we do, is I give John 2 cards, and we're getting very close to the point where I've given him all the cards already as I look through the groups of them, and he's going to do an accurate imitation of the card. It comes into play sound effect. So we're going to change things up a little bit. John, Whirling Zap-O-Matic is your...
Whirling Zap-O-Matic is...
That's your demo. So, yeah, he will do whatever the sound effect is. I don't give him just mechs that just make odd mechanical sounds. You know, they have to have a voice or say something. There he goes. And he's eerily good at it for no reason whatsoever other than he works at it. So, I think I'm going to get you on both of them. And the first one, you should
he's called shot 2 for 2.
I'm gonna. The first one is a basic set card. It is class specific, okay? You should know it because it's not very difficult, but Kor'kron Elite.
Oh, God. All I can think of right now is Wolf Rider. It's, let me think. Oh, no. I don't want to give you the first one. That's easy. All I can think of right now was Ready to Ride, but I know that's not him. It's something like that. Forgare? I have no idea. You got me. You got one.
All right.
For the War Chief!
For the War Chief. And the attack
Oh,
is...
for Hellscream! Yep.
Yep. So, we got him already. So, chalk one up for the good guys. Chalk one up for the watch for the good guys. And we will move on to the second one. John, the second one is a is a legendary creature from GVG, and it is a particularly bad one. One of your friend Nick Cummings' favorite creatures, Mechgineer Thermoplug.
Oh God! What the? You're really hunting for points this week, weren't you?
Hey man, Corcoran Elite's been playable. It's very arena playable. I just didn't think you'd get it because you're not a big warrior player. This one, I don't know. You should. This one I was hunting for points. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, and I feel like you got the points because I have no idea. Although, side note, that golden picture looks insane.
Yeah, it is really cool.
It's got like searchlights. Oh my God, I want that card golden now.
Yep. You're gonna have to get golden Ancestral's Call too, though. I think in order to make it playable.
Yeah, that's true.
This, as soon as I saw what it was, I'm like, oh, he's not getting this. I'm totally doing it.
Usurpers! Gnomrigan is mine!
Usurpers! Gnomrigan is mine!
Yeah, I don't think that card's ever been played before, so I feel like that's it. That's not.
And the attack
Explosions! More explosions!
Explosions! More explosions!
D-Cleave says, I heard golden cards, so here I am.
Oh, Mr. Cleveland always showing up. Well, right as it's too late. No, we'll have the after show to do, but we are just wrapping up the show here, guys. So
Jim
points
gets
for the good guys.
a fabled 2-0 victory on me.
It's like I think I'm Ruben Bressler or something, and I can just walk in and 2-0 you.
Ruben just destroyed me.
It was so bad. I was so jealous. I'm like, oh my God, I've just been getting crushed in this game for like 2 months. Yeah,
okay,
Blevins,
I gotta step down from the Iron Throne.
Yeah, you gotta get your stuff together, man. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up episode number 19. As always, there is always cash in the banana stand. I am Jim Reed. That is John Blevins over there. You guys have a great week.
See ya!